What is going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Him and Her Your Space, where me, your him host with most, Chad Nails, Master Life Coach, and as always, my equally fabulous Her Life Coach co-host. Take it away.
Nini Window. Thank you, Chad.
No doubt. No doubt. I gotta make sure you shine. So we're here in the space again, just bring you some of our responses as two people, two active members in the Black community, as two life coaches in the Black community. Just touching on some current events that have people talking. So today we have one that's I won't say that it's new. It's kind of coming down off this thing, but it still raises a lot of questions in terms of the approach to it, and that, of course, is the reported fallout between Kirk Franklin and his 33-year-old son, Kerrion Franklin, which, if you haven't been living under a rock, you've heard of in some way, shape, or form. Either you heard the actual playing of the recording that the son Kerrion did, or the response that Kirk Franklin did, and then people's responses to both of those things, or even interview that Kerrion's mother did subsequently, which was obviously earlier in this week. So, what's your gut shot reaction, like the knee-jerk reaction to this? What do you see happening here?
Well, when I initially heard the curse out video where Kirk Franklin is cursing out his son, and then hung up on him. My initial thought was, we're only seeing part of that. So something happened prior to what his son posted to lead up to that point of cursing someone out. Like, because you don't say, hey dad, it's me. Hi son, you're a punk ass. Something leads up to that, right? So we don't see what the lead up is. Secondly, the fact that his son is 32, going to be 33.
Yes.
And your mentality was to post that publicly says a whole nother thing. Like, so not only did, okay, fine, your father cursed you out, but then you had the audacity to put that out there publicly for the world to see, right? Knowing who he is and knowing, what he is, says a whole nother thing. So that's a whole nother level of an issue that's going on. And just the fact that, it was posted, that's a whole nother story. And then we'll get into the apology later. But the initial curse out, he's 33 years old, 32 years old. You're a grown man. You got cursed out. You just so happened that the curse out came from your father, but the curse out, I'm pretty sure, it led up to something. It wasn't just, hey son, how are you? You're a punk ass. Like, something led up to that point.
Oh, most certainly. Certainly. So we're gonna, without further ado, we're actually gonna pull up said excerpt of the conversation.
Well, what were your thoughts on it? We didn't get your thoughts on it.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right. I'm very much like you. It's like, okay, no dad is ready to jump all over his son like that off some whim notice. I mean, I don't know Kirk Franklin. I ain't friends with him or anything like that. But he doesn't strike me as somebody, unless he hides it very, very well. He don't strike me as somebody that does something provocative like that.
Right.
So that's my intuitive look at it. That's my gut reaction to it. Right. Something about the interaction. It also tells me that not only was this episodic in terms of the conversation, in terms of that flare up happening inside of the confines of that conversation, that also kind of tells me that this has been something that's been long-standing. Mm-hmm. The son says that there has been a disconnect between him and the family for quite some time, and I actually kind of believe him. Now, why is there the disconnect? That's something that they can speculate on. But this is definitely not just oh, we were good, and then me and Dad had this conversation, and it just went all the way left, and Dad just sprang up all over me and this, that, and the third. I don't think that's the case. I think there's definitely a much older root to this, that only them and those around them would actually know, or those in the know would know. And it just kind of got put out there. And you're right, it does say something, it does say a lot about Kerrion to put this out there like that. And then also to hear of a lot of people's reaction to it is also a little unsettling. You have a lot of people in the Black community that are saying, "Oh, well, this is normal parenting," and I don't agree with that at all. This is normal Black parenting, and so on and so forth. And no, I can't do it. Did your parents ever jump all over you like that?
Never.
Damned if my parents did.
Never.
Have I gotten them? Not at no 33 for them to be talking like that. No.
Right.
Maybe when I was like 10, maybe 12, maybe as a teenager at the most, was when I might have gotten upset enough to to raise their voice or anything like that. Lord knows I got more ass whoopings than I would have did. But to get cussed out like that, no.
Right. And then my thing is, yes, a lot of people are saying that it's normal Black. No, it's not. That's not normal. I know a lot of people who have not experienced that. Thank God. I know a lot of people who unfortunately have experienced that. However, he's not talking to his minor child. Like, he's talking man to man. And the reality of it is he's talking man to man. So if you're gonna come at me like a man, then you need to be able to take it like a man. If you're gonna buck, I'm gonna buck back. Whether whether you're my son or I'm not gonna and my thing is if his son, hear me out, if his son would have hauled off.
I'm laughing because you basically said I will knock if you buck.
Right. If you have a child, right, and your child at 32 years old hauls off and punches you in your face, you're gonna be like, oh, son.
Oh, you want to die.
You're gonna buck. If you buck, and you deserve that buck back. Like, that's
verbally or otherwise, yes.
Or otherwise. So, but to say that that's a normal behavior of a parent and a child, absolutely not. But if you want to, because sometimes children, we've done it. Your children, I'm pretty sure, if they have not, they will do it. They will test you. And they will test the limit.
I'm fortunate that I haven't gotten to that point.
Right.
Yet, so.
Wait till the teenage years come. They will test you, okay? And it's going to be a point where you're either going to have to mouth off and let them know, like, yes, I'm your father, but I have a past. Like, I was, this person, and you're not going to come at me, as if you're not going to disrespect me, whether it's your daughter or your son. Obviously, you're going to treat your daughter a little bit different than your son, but a man-to-man thing, you're going to have to, you buck,
Stern, yes. Yeah, this was Stern. I'm all for parents being stern, especially fathers with their sons, especially Black fathers with their sons.
Right.
I have no problem doing it. I have a son myself. I'm stern with both my kids. The level, the approach in my sternness is different between my daughter and my son, but it is there.
Right.
It is absolutely there. This was beyond stern. This was, son said something. It seems to me like that issued a warning, son ignored warning, and then Dad popped off.
Right. And Dad said, even in the curse out, Dad said, if you ever disrespect me again. So
something happened.
Something happened. It wasn't, we're just seeing the small bit of it. But let's get to the video. Let's get to the video. For those who may not have seen it yet.
Without further.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So where were we? Okay, so this is the video for the curse out.
Of course, we have fair use before, as we're pulling this up with, this is being done under fair use policy. So we're listening. Are we sharing sound?
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear it on my end, but
You say you don't hear it?
mm-mm. Are you sharing sound?
I believe so. If not, let's start again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Okay, let's start over.
Oh no.
My bad. Okay.
Stuff a piece of paper. Okay, if you think I'm ready for this paper, let me say it like this. When your bitch ass starts having shit you need to get your skinny motherfucking ass back out the goddamn way before I put my foot in your ass. Because I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. Shut the fuck up. I'm old. I will punch your neck, nigga. Don't you ever disrespect me. I did it. He just hung up the phone. I'll break your neck. Is that a threat?
Okay. So.
Okay.
Right.
So it's been some days since I last heard it.
Yeah.
But there is, even in that small exchange, there is a lot happening there. Obviously, the conversation didn't start on 10. So for the clip that Kerrion played for the world to listen to, he already catches a bit of it now, because most people will be able to listen to that and know that there had to have been prior conversation that happened. Right? It's not like he just jumped on the phone and was like, "Boy, if you ever disrespect me." Obviously, something happened where there was a disrespect for Kirk to even refer to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's like, and then you're hearing the son saying, you know, "I dare you to do it. I dare you," and he's like, "Okay." Only in very, very rare circumstances can a child say that to a parent and really kind of get what they did.
Right.
That's funny, because without going into detail, I've been in something of a similar situation. Not that it was chronic. It was chronic. It was very, very. It was a one-time thing. But it was not as a parent, not as a father, but from a son's perspective. Mm-hmm. But even then, there was a lot that went into that. There was always something. There was something that led up to that. So even speaking from a first-hand perspective, there's no way in the world that any son will be able to put that type of recording up and then have people believe that that's how it started and that's how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just foolish. If you believe that, I got a bridge in New York back, son.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So that's just that's that. And what escalated, it was already heightened, and then from what I understood, from what I'm listening to, the son's response to the father's warnings, I don't even know if I could call them threats just yet. And they could be, but when the son responded with the whole "I dare you," that's what took it from 10 to like 15.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm glad homie was on the phone. Lord knows what could have happened. I know Kirk's small, but you know, fathers have a unique strength when it comes to dealing with their kids.
Right.
So even though Kerrion's bigger than him, that's just my thing. What's your take on?
So listening to it again from a week ago almost.
Yeah.
And he did say in his apology, I believe it was in his apology, or when I say he, I mean Kirk Franklin, when he did his interview with Tamron Hall, that there was a pastor or somebody else on the phone that they called in to help fix the situation. That's the person that we hear laughing. That, listening to it again, troubles me. Because the fact that you called in a pastor to help even the playing level, and then this person this person is laughing at the fact that I called my son a skinny ass, whatever, as opposed to saying, well, Kirk, let's not go there, or because he's kind of like egging him on. So my, and of course, we don't know the whole conversation because we only got a tidbit of it, 46 seconds of it. But what was like, who was that person? He did mention, I can't remember the person's name. And why was that person okay to egg on that curse out? Again, not saying that the curse out should not have happened. You buck, I buck back. But from the person that you called in to try to fix it, his words, and try to even, try to get everything settled, that person is not helping the situation by laughing. Like, you're laughing at a father cursed out his son justifiably. I'm not knocking that, but you as another adult, as a mediator or as a third party to try to fix it, you're egging on. That was an egg on. That laugh wasn't like you can't even distinguish a laugh from a, but the fact
I wanted to say that it was kind of like one out of shock over what the son said. But
it wasn't in reference to what the son said. It was in reference to what Kirk said. The way the laugh came through, what I heard, the way the laugh came through. As soon as Kirk said something, then he laughed like, like that type thing. It wasn't like a laugh of, oh my God, I'm shocked, clutch my pearls. It was kind of like, you tell him, and I get that, but is that helping the situation? Did that help the situation? Honestly, and that could have made that go even more, because it's like, okay, so it's 2 against 1.
Yeah.
He could have felt double team, tag team.
Possibly. Dipping into our coach bag, into our coaches bag on that. If you're coming in, if you're a third party, you're trying to mediate something, your job is to be as level-headed as possible. Your job is to be as impartial as possible. So even with that laugh being where it was, and in response to what it was in response to answer your question, no, it wouldn't have been helpful at all. That removes you from that scope of being impartial. That removes you from the scope of being a mediator, because even your response to something like that, to something like Kirk flaring up, and then you're laughing at the fact that the dad is coming off the top to his son. No, it makes it kind of apparent what side you're on. Even if you don't mean for it to come off that way, you didn't do your job as a mediator in that space, in that time frame, especially with it escalating to where it was. The more heightened it get, you would have needed to be that much more of a mediator, because things were getting volatile, because things were getting too extreme. Your job is to mediate, which means you're in the middle. If you see things becoming more extreme, that means you have to mediate more. And if that didn't happen in that space, then no, it doesn't help at all.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that the buck back was an unnecessary buck back, but I think had the laugh not had happened, maybe would it have did something different? Like, yes, he was already recording it, but would it had that, maybe that took it to the level of, oh, so y'all trying to double team me? I'm already something, because they already talked about it. I already have some mental things going on because I'm seeing a therapist. So now I'm going to put it out there because now I feel attacked. And so now I'm going to do it. Thinking from a man, yes, 32 years old, but I feel that you're supposed, you should be a mediator in this. And I felt tag team. I felt like I was, being attacked, and that could have caused that to move to social media as opposed to staying private for himself and then thinking about it, and whatever. So that's just the observation I made this time that I did not see last time. So again, not taking the buck back. He deserved, whatever it is, if you came at me like that. But Kirk Franklin did apologize. He did explain his story on Tamron Hall, which we're not going to get into because it's about 45 minutes long. Yeah. But the apology was, he did apologize. So I do want to
actual issued apology.
Yeah. So if nothing else, if you have anything else on the actual curse out, we can go straight to the apology video.
No, we can go straight to the initial apology response.
Okay. So here is the apology.
Let's dance and start, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching this.
See, that laugh gets me. Where is the apology? It was here. My bad. I thought it was up here already.
No, it's good.
This one.
There
you go. Let's dance and start, let's dance for a while.
No, sorry about this.
Many of you know I have an older son named Kerrion Franklin. In May, he'll be 33. For many years, we have had a toxic relationship with him as a family. We've tried for many years through counseling, through therapy, to try to rectify this private family matter. Recently, my son and I had an argument that he chose to record. I felt extremely disrespected in that conversation, and I lost my temper. And I said words that are not appropriate. And I'm sincerely sorry to all of you. I sincerely apologize. I want you to know as a father that during that conversation, I called the family therapist and got that therapist on the phone to try to help. He never played that part of the recording. I'm not perfect. I'm human and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm trying to get it right. Please keep me and my family in your prayers.
Optimum's best internet offer just got better.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Silly ass commercials. So, first thing that I'm noticing, Kirk. This is pushed as Kirk apologizing to his son. I heard no apology to his son. I heard an apology to the fans. No, I'm sorry to all of you. I lost my head in that conversation. I apologize to all of you. Not to my son. Not to my son.
Right.
So there's the first thing that the top of my thoughts. That's the first thing that came off the top of my head. Secondly, I do believe it to be, if you are to look at it in the context of him just talking to us, I believe the apology to be sincere. I don't think if I were his son, I could conceptualize not wanting to accept that apology, because you ain't saying shit to me. You know, you're talking to your fan base, you're talking to the public, because you ain't trying to get dragged for filth, and which would automatically result in cancellations of concerts and loss of endorsements and who knows what else. Right? So there is that very real aspect of you being a public figure and this just not being good for your brand. Right? You're supposed to be Mr. GP, are you with me? And I'm internally chuckling at myself because I don't even remember which comedian said it. I don't know. It might have been D.O.E. And he said it way back when he was still with God's Carpet. He said one of these days, Kirk gonna be so amped he gonna mess around and cuss. Put your hands in the air. And 20 some odd years later, it done finally happened. It done finally happened. You know, obviously not in the framework that we were thinking of it, but there it is. You know, so is he calling it what it is? Oh, also a little bit of low-key shade to us too, because we sitting here, it became a very public thing, and you notice that emphasis that he put on this very private family matter, private, very private, which means none yet. You know, filing under none of your business. And but it's out. You know, you basically, you trying to tell us, oh, we shouldn't be paying attention to this, dude. You a couple of days late on saying that. It's out. It's public. It is public. You got people looking at you. Saying that you wish for us to respect your family's privacy. There's only but so much in realistic terms for the society that we're in. There's only but so much of that. You know, I'd love to hear from this therapist who was part of this call that who was part of the phone call that was recorded, and to find out what was said and how it still got to this point, even though they were involved in the phone call. I don't know. That's really all I can say on the apology. What's your take?
Yep. So my take is completely different from yours. I think that the apology was unnecessary to us and to his son.
Okay.
Because his son was the one who violated the private conversation. The private conversation that had happened became public because his son made it public. So it was no need for him to apologize to us publicly for this very private family conversation, because it was a private conversation that he had with his son.
I agree.
Does he need to, did he owe us an apology? Absolutely not. Had he not given us an apology, I would never thought anything of it. And if we think about it, we're holding him, and I get it, because, people usually hold Christians to different levels of things or whatever. But how many times have we had a Beyonce and a Jay-Z situation happen and they don't talk about their stuff? We never say, oh, we're in the public and we're your fans and we should know. No, we shouldn't. That's none of our business. So the fact that he came out and apologized to us, I don't need an apology. You did what you did to your 32-year-old son, not 12-year-old son, not 2-year-old son, because your son disrespected you. And in the recording, it says, if you ever disrespect me again. So he felt disrespected. He didn't owe us an apology. He did not owe his son an apology. His son owes him an apology for disrespect. I reacted to what I was given. So you apologize for disrespecting me. I apologize for talking to you the way that I spoke to you, right? So that's one thing. The second thing, the fact that he is saying that it is none yet, because it was a private conversation, again, that he had with his son. The therapist was on the phone. We don't know what happened with the therapist or how that situation happened, or if the son even hung up on it. I don't know who called who or whatever for it to happen and for it to escalate to that point. Apparently whatever happened, it didn't, the mediator or the therapist didn't work, whatever. We don't know. We're just assuming or guesstimating or guessing on what had happened. But I don't think there was an apology due. And as far as people looking at him a certain way because he's a Christian gospel singer, he's a man first.
And a public figure. Yeah.
He's a
man. He does touch on that.
I'm a man first.
He's human. He's a center, and that does push the topic of why there is that ridiculous standard for public figures. Like they don't, like they don't mess up.
I don't think there's a standard for a public figure. I think that
there absolutely is. I think there absolutely is.
And like I used before, the example of Beyonce and Jay-Z, they don't tell us their business. They don't, because it's none of our business. Whatever's going on in their thing, and we have whispers and stuff about it. Whatever. Hold on. Wait. We have whispers and stuff or whatever about that. but they don't tell us what's going on. The fact that he's a Christian public figure, I think plays a huge part in that, because they say, oh, well, he's a Christian this and he's supposed to be this perfect person or whatever, which is not true. Like, none of us are perfect people. And if we were perfect, show me a perfect man that's walking this earth, and I'll bow down to him, because the only perfect person that walked this earth was Jesus. So you can't tell me that he's not gonna revert back, and that's between him and God. If he curses his son out, as long as he repents to God, that's his business. Like, that's all that he has to worry about. But he is a man first. He is a human being first. He owes us nothing. Absolutely nothing. And from what I'm seeing, and I'm not sure, because your audience on Facebook is different than my audience on Facebook. Very few people are saying, oh, shame on you, Kirk, you should not have. So I don't think that, and I honestly think that the reaction that people are giving, I'm pretty sure he made so much money that past week for people downloading his songs and just listening to him, even more so to say, you know what? And that to me showed him in a different light. And the fact that, yes, that doesn't take away his relationship with God. That doesn't take away his, belief in what he does and his job and what he does, but it shows me him in a human light. I am human. I make mistakes. I'm not this perfect person walking around on clouds. I make mistakes. And he made a mistake in private with his grown child that he has absolutely nothing to apologize for. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. I mean, our stances are they're not as different as you made it seem. For me to talk on the apology, I'm just speaking on what I got from it, not on the portion of whether or not we are due one. You're using the Beyonce and Jay-Z example. In this example, this celebrity didn't put his business out either. Somebody else did. Okay. And even for you to talk on people looking at him like, he's this Christian, he's supposed to be all these posters when it comes to being a Christian or being a public figure, that does talk about there being this alternative standard. You're a Christian and you're a public figure. People, when they look at people that are in higher positions of authority or in positions of influence, for whatever reason, when they make a mistake, the public in general seems to attribute much more emphasis or egregious, or this level of being egregious to it, and it's not fair. I do agree with you in the sense of Kirk talking about, and this is something that's actually been kind of cliched, is using this whole I'm human, I make mistakes. How many people have we heard use that out of context, to the point where when you hear somebody else make it, when you hear somebody else say it again, it can actually lose strength. Not to say that it doesn't apply to me, it absolutely does. Why? Because I work very hard within myself to try and take each of those instances on a case-by-case scenario. I think there are some people that use that premise of, oh, I'm human, I make mistakes, and you've committed it multiple times. You committed the same thing multiple times. At that point in time, I'm like, nah, F that. You know that. All right. In this case, I could see where that might be the case, unless this has been a regular occurrence, which again we don't know and won't know.
No, I think it's probably this is not his first curse out because his son knew to start recording. So I don't think it's been the first time.
That's a good. That is a,
right. So it's not the first time.
And that there's actually Kirk's apology actually kind of supports that, because he said there has been toxicity between Kirk and his son, and it's funny that he said the family and his son, which would lead me to believe that there hasn't even just been static with Kirk directly, but static with Kirk's family in general. Meaning if there was static with Kerrion and wife, maybe, and Kirk's wife, like they're ecstatic with Kerrion and his half siblings, possibly. But Lord,
I think he did touch on that. If I'm not mistaken,
for the parts we don't know, that could be really nice.
Well, no, he did touch on that. If I'm not mistaken, in his interview with Tamron.
Okay.
Tamron Hall. So he did mention, because he has half siblings and just that dynamic, which is kind of normal with any family, that there was something going on there.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, there that is.
Yep.
Yeah, but for a son to get to the point, and also, the other part that we also don't know is Kirk may have said he felt disrespected in the conversation. That does not mean that it's not possible for Kerrion to have thrown the first shot.
That is not possible.
It's not that just because Kirk was saying he felt disrespected in the phone call, that doesn't mean that it's not possible that Kerrion threw the first shot.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
So just as possible as it could have been for Kirk to be responding to Kerrion first, as far as Kerrion saying something first, it also could have been that's one person saying something and one person escalating. But it's also possible when the other person says something, which then elevated the second person to say something, which then elevated the third person. So how do we know Kirk didn't say something crazy that then made Kerrion go off set, which then made Kirk go way off set? So there's also that possibility. But again, that is extreme speculation. But just because it's speculation does not make it possible. It just makes it a problem. So there's that part as well. To the notion of this this public response that Kirk didn't do anything wrong, that's just regular parenting and so on and so forth. Again, I'll say I think that's the exception rather than the rule. That is not a typical black person, black father, black parent response to a child at any age. So it shouldn't be. I definitely don't think that's the norm. To anybody who is saying that narrative, or if you know of anybody who's saying that narrative, give yourself, if it is you or somebody else, a tap on. If you hear somebody else saying it, tap on the shoulder. Like, look, if you can't prove that, don't go around spoiling that to people, because you will have other people that'll walk around believing that.
Right. Or if that is your experience growing up, just because that was your experience doesn't mean that it's everyone's experience. That was not my experience. That's not Chad's experience. So
I don't care if that was your experience and the experience of 5 other people around you. This is not something for you to be making generalities on.
Well, and a lot of times as humans, we make generalizations off of our own experiences. So if that's their experience, that's an unfortunate experience to have, but that doesn't paint the whole culture, the whole, race as that. That's not what we do. So.
And that's what I would want people to definitely walk away with understanding.
Right.
As far as that. So that really kind of covers it. If you want to get more information, if you haven't seen it, there is an interview with Kirk that we mentioned earlier that Kirk does with Tamron Hall. There is another interview that Kerrion's mother does as well. It's about an hour long each, I think, for each one of those interviews. So you're more than welcome to check that out if you haven't already seen it, to get more information on it. And that's really the wrap up with that.
Yep. And what we'll do actually too, I'll link both the apology, the initial curse out video, the interview with Tamron, and the interview with his mom, Kerrion's mom, in the link in the chat
description box. All right. So that will about wrap it up for us for this episode of YourSpace. where we are continuing to take in information from you as far as what you guys want us to respond to and everything like that. So be sure to like, share, and comment below if you like what we're talking about here. Again, we will have the links to the supporting links to this story in the description box below. And we will see you guys next time on YourSpace, where, as always, we have 2 coaches,
1 space,
and 0 reservations. All right.
Yay.
See you guys later.
Bye, guys.